Hi and welcome, Asja. Thank you so much for joining on this conversation about being an empath.
Thank you.
It's exciting. So for those
Yeah.
listening, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and what you do before we get into the empath topic?
Okay. So I'm Asja and I come from Slovenia, which is like a really small country in Europe. And I am a yoga teacher and a life coach. I basically help people gain confidence, clarity, and peace through all the yogic techniques and life coaching.
Beautiful. And I've gotten to have a session with you, and you are amazing at what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit about how being an empath showed up as a young age, and how old were you when you first realized that you were different, that you were highly sensitive?
I think the first time I really realized it, that I was like really being drained when being with a lot of people, was somewhere in sixth grade when I moved from a smaller school to a bigger school. And I just started noticing that I was really, really drained every day. So this was like around 12 years old. This was also the time when I spontaneously actually became vegetarian because I just couldn't eat meat anymore.
And tell me about that experience, because I've experienced that as well as an empath, with just the experience of eating meat. And for me, this may sound weird to people. It's probably going to sound different to people who are not empathic. But like when I eat meat, I can literally feel and connect to the animal's energy. And then it weirds me out so much that I'm like, what am I doing? I personally, like, I love steak so much. So I've tried to like go forward, and there's probably going to come a time where I just like completely stop eating meat. But that does happen to me as well. Is that how it showed up? Like, how did that show up for you?
Yeah, I think this is something that started happening. It was just when I was like eating the sausages and stuff. I could just imagine that animal, and I just couldn't anymore. It created something inside of me that just repelled me so much that I couldn't. Even though
so
I came from a village and we ate a lot of meat and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, like whenever I eat meat, I always hear the animals like in my head, and then it really messes with you, when you're trying to eat it.
Yeah.
And yes. So tell me, from a young age, how did being an empath impact your relationship with your family?
So basically, I always played a role of wanting to fix everything and everyone. So how this impacted our relationships is I couldn't stand anybody being in any other state than great. And I would always try to like do everything to make them feel better and so on and so on. So this was what I've played ever since I guess I was a little kid, and I still do this sometimes, and I'm trying not to so much, but yeah, trying to fix everybody in my family even when I was like 10 was my role.
Oh man, I so resonate with that. So tell me, how did that show up for you with your parents?
Well, I don't know, maybe sometimes I would feel like I would try to support them instead of them like supporting me in a way, which would be like normal for kid-parent relationship. So this was the biggest thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Growing up, did you have other empathic figures in your life who sort of trumped your coming in to heal other people, and they were like, no, you must be a child, no, you must be, fill this role?
Not really. No, I don't there is nothing that comes in my mind, because I still didn't fully like realize that I can still be like not fixing everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is still with me in a way, but I'm slowly like coming back to me, especially with all the community that I saw on the internet and everywhere. when you actually realize that this is not a healthy way of being, you get a chance to change it, I guess.
Yes. It's a beautiful chance. So if you had to explain what it's like to be an empath to someone who's not an empath, maybe they're on the other spectrum. So I like, also before asking this question, I like to think of being an empath as a spectrum. And some people think of it very much black and white, but nothing's black and white, right? So there is a spectrum. So for those people who are on the complete opposite side and they do not have an empathic bone in their body, how would you explain being an empath to them?
So imagine all the feelings that you're feeling like in your day-to-day life, and then being with 10 people in a room that each one of them have those like different feelings, and then feeling all of them at the same time. this is how it feels for me.
Yes, it's so true. And I remember the first time that I learned how to bring my aura in and how to like separate my energy from other people's. And I went to the store after that. I went to Whole Foods. Like, I'll never forget where I was because it was such an interesting moment in my life, because all my life I had spent surrounded by other people's energy. And then all of a sudden I'm walking in the store and I'm looking at these people and I was thinking, I have my own life. I'm thinking my own thoughts. Like, what is going on here? It's like the craziest thing ever.
I think like the thing that I was doing subconsciously a lot of times was just like ignore everything around me and kind of close myself in. But then this is also like not really good because you are fully ignorant towards everything around you. And when I started learning this, actually drawing my energy in and like putting that shield over me, it was also like this, like it's just like, wow, okay.
Yes, and I feel like the difference there is that before learning these tools, like we have to go into like protecting ourselves, right? And so then we try to do it with our own energy instead of using the energy of divine love, which comes from God. And when we do it ourselves, yes, we're protected, but we're also protected from everything. Like we're not able, it's sort of to me like the difference between like antibiotics and maybe like a probiotic or something, like antibiotics kills everything, like the good and the bad. And so, As an empath, do you know what your clairsenses are? Like pretty much all empaths definitely have feeling as one of them. Clairsentient.
The strongest for me is clairaudient. Clairaudient. Am I pronouncing this right? I'm not even sure.
You are.
Yeah, I'm basically hearing things, but not in a very clear sense that I would be like really clear hearing voices. It's just like it comes. And I can write it down and I can talk it or whatever.
Very cool.
It's the same for you?
It's the same for me. Clairaudient and then clairsentient. And clairaudient, with that comes music as well. So I receive messages through form of music, just like a music that I've never heard before will come into my mind and it will be representing something, which is cool.
Your music is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's just amazing.
Thanks so much. What do energetic boundaries mean to you, and have you always had them? And if not, well, we've already kind of dived into this a little bit. So tell us about your journey to creating healthy boundaries, how that showed up for you, and the transformation that happened.
So for me, it was, as I said, it was first being aggressive and being ignorant. And now it's more like allowing myself to say no to these situations that I know I won't really be able to handle. And also like leaving the place if I already feel weak in my energy. And if I know that like it's just not good to be there anymore. And then another thing, how I'm like doing it is really setting clear boundaries with people as well, like with when it's okay to like really talk to me about some heavy stuff, and also learning to really, as you said, draw your energy in and not let other people's energy and stories and everything take your energy, because a lot of people around us, around empaths, they can subconsciously try to take your energy out. They're like feeding on our energy. And when you start feeling this, it's like you have to create a boundary within yourself that you won't allow this to happen, because sometimes you just can't say bye and go away. I mean, you can, but like, you know, the situation sometimes doesn't really allow you to just say, okay, now stop talking to me, I'm going away because I'm feeling drained because of you. And it's
Yes.
just really, you know, breathing into it and like, okay, no, they're not taking it, and like drawing that energy in. And I really like to imagine that shield of energy created around me.
Yes, beautiful. And
Mhm.
I've even noticed that for myself, sometimes there are experiences where I'm going about my day and there's someone in my inner circle who
Yeah.
sometimes feeds on my energy, right? And all of a sudden I think of them very strongly, and also I'm starting to get drained. And then it's like that is how I start noticing, or usually it happens that I start feeling not myself. And sometimes, like at this point,
Yeah.
my husband is really good at knowing, like he's very intuitive, although he's not an empath, he's very intuitive. And so he helps me. He's like, Lydia, something's not right. You know, it's like, oh, okay. So I have to like look inside who has connected to my energy. And
Yeah.
then I will realize, and sometimes that person will reach out to me that day, you know, and call me. But what happens is they connect to my energy, and without even, it's not on a conscious level, but it's like unconsciously I've given them permission,
Mm-hmm.
because people cannot connect to your energy if you don't give them permission, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to give them permission. So, but what is important, I think, for empaths to realize is that this happens a lot of times without us even being conscious of it. So it doesn't have to be you're physically in the room with them or you're talking to them on the phone. It could literally be you're going about your day and all of a sudden you start feeling drained. And it's like, okay, something's going on. You know, I'm picking up on something. What is it? And then like going into your body and figuring out like what it is. And for me, I visualize energy as a cord, and I visualize that that person has connected their cord to me. And it's different than an attachment, right? They're not attached to me, but they're just like connected to me. And so I just clear and I visualize the cord just slipping off from me,
Yeah.
send it back to them.
Yeah. I love this. I love this. And it usually really happens when we are already in like a little bit lower energetic state, at least for me. If I'm
Yes.
like really hyped up, if I'm like really strong in my energy, it happens much less than if I'm already like being a little bit like, oh.
Yes, or if you get hungry, anything that just like kind of
Yeah.
brings you down and your
Yeah.
energetic filters kind of go away a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, this is just a silly question, but I enjoy asking it. Have you ever used your empathic abilities to win games?
I think not consciously. Like, I mean, I had a lot of instances when I just felt things, and I knew, like, for example, with numbers, when I was in India, there is some games that you play and you just like choose some numbers. And if you get the numbers right, you get like more money back. And it happened a lot of times that I just like threw out a number and like it came out. So maybe this was like the biggest instance, but otherwise I'm not consciously really.
Yeah. It's usually not
Yeah.
a conscious thing. I remember the
Yeah.
first time it happened to me, it was when I was in school and I was in the quick recall team, which was like all about, you know, math and science. And we had
Ooh.
we spent like 2 days a week, you know, practicing and learning these different things. And then we would meet with different teams from different schools. And the certain day we were meeting. And so like I mean, it's like a sport event, right? Like all the parents are there watching. And so the guy asks this question, and it was a math question. It was super, super challenging, right? Like there's no possible human way that I would have gotten it in 2 seconds. But like he asked and I heard the answer instantaneously. And I was like,
Exactly.
I'm just gonna buzz it. So I did, and I told, and then like my friends were just like enamored. They're like, and then later one of my friends, he's like, you guessed it, and you had to guess. Like it's impossible. And I was like, yeah, I did. I just like I heard the answer and I just threw it out there. But yeah, so like it
Oh,
just sometimes happens to us, you know, like, and the same thing
yeah.
with playing games where people lie. It's like, as an empath, it's really, for me, I have to really try to not read into other, because it's so easy for us to just kind of see through when people are, you know, putting up. Let's say you're going through your day and all of a sudden you feel a shift in your energy. How do you recognize that someone else's energy is causing that shift? What do you experience in your body? For those people who maybe they're empathic, but they have never started this journey of untangling. So what would you tell them? And I mean, obviously that looks different for everyone, but for you, how do you experience through your day?
For me, the biggest thing is that it's really sudden. If it's just like my energy slowly draining, it goes slowly. And if it's somebody else entering, it's like very sudden. It's like a matter of seconds, and I'm like completely, like my energy is completely different or being completely drained. So this is the bigger thing, and I would like usually feel it in my heart or like solar plexus area, like the tension or some kind of tingling or some weird sensations.
Yes. Yep, me too.
Yeah.
What are some clearing techniques that you use in moments when you realize you are feeling someone else's negativity, or even like beyond that, once maybe you didn't even realize it, or maybe you were around someone and inevitably they pulled from your energy and you left and you're super drained? Like, what do you do then to kind of bring yourself back up?
So first thing is definitely breathing exercises that I do, like pranayama, yogic, like breathing. This is the biggest thing, and taking showers. This is the biggest thing. Like I need to take showers if I'm like with a lot of people, and even if not, even if I'm with one person, it's like really beneficial if I take a good shower in the end of the day and just like feel it go out of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Water is so helpful in the clearing process. It really is.
And not even to talk about the sea, which is even better, but I'm not living next to the sea. So yeah.
I think about the ocean every single day. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manifest us living by the ocean.
You can.
I know. I'm excited too. What words of wisdom would you like to give to any empath who is watching this and they're currently overwhelmed by their sensitivity and they do not see being an empath as a gift?
Don't try to block it or like push it away, because it's not gonna go away. But rather really learn to manage it and learn to, as we talked about, like clear your energy and disconnect when you need to and connect when you want to, really.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I think also to kind of go on that, what you said about growing up and as a young person helping people all the time, and then you realize that like is not sustainable for you, and so like having those boundaries is so important in relationships. Like
exactly.
And I think a lot of times as empaths we feel guilty when we're starting this process. Like I have had so many empaths who I work with, and it's so funny because they'll ask me, they'll say, well, I don't want to become apathetic. And I'm like, you're an empath. Like, that's not going to happen, you know, but it's like, there's a part, and I think it has to do with our ego, right? Because we filled this role for so long as the helper. And then when we start putting those boundaries in, it's not just us feeling uncomfortable, but it's us feeling the reflection of other people and their experience with us shifting and putting up boundaries, you know, and they experience it and they're like, hey, wait a minute, you've played this role for me for so long. Why are you, you know? And so we have to start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable of having other people have their own experiences and being okay with that. Like they may experience our boundary setting and there may be some discomfort, and that's okay, but that doesn't make us apathetic, right? Like we're still
I think in the long run, they appreciate it more. And also in the long run, you see that a lot of people that you like usually forcefully even try to help, if you're like empath, they appreciate it when you don't. And if somebody does ask you for help, you can open yourself up to helping them.
Yes, if you're in the place and you know, like you don't have to. That's the thing, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Asja, for everything.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
Thank
this
you.
conversation. It's going to be so helpful
Me
to
too.
so many people.